Welcome to Sonoma Raceway. We're here for round two of the Porsche Endurance Challenge North America. This is going to be a difficult track, but the drivers certainly seem up to it. Therese, I can't wait to see how they tackle this fantastic California circuit.
This is one of the most technical racetracks in the world. It's here in beautiful California. It's a sunny day. The surface temperatures are coming up, so we should be in for a really exciting race. We've got Caymans, we've got GT3 Cup cars, and I can't wait to see how this one shakes down.
Let's go take a look at how this track pans out because it is a complicated one. So let's head to turn two.
Here we are standing near the top of turn number 2 where the cars are coming up full speed. One of the best passing opportunities on this racetrack. But as you come up over this crest, it can get very tricky.
Yeah, there's definitely an open lane on the outside of 2. So if anybody's tuning in and taking part of this race, it's a great passing opportunity on the outside of 2 if you've got the guts for it. Welcome to the California roller coaster, turn 6. We come up out of turn 5 and down into a blind corner in turn 6. This is what separates the men from the boys.
This is one of the fastest parts of the racetrack, and you really have to carry a ton of entry speed as you come up over this crest, and it is completely unsighted as a driver to get down to the apex of turn number 6, also known as the carousel, one of the steepest corners here at Sonoma. Here we are at the entrance to turn 9A, the chicane that causes so many problems here at Sonoma Raceway. You have to be so aggressive on entry speed, all over the curbs, and sometimes even into the tires.
Yeah, you definitely want to be carrying in as much speed as possible. We're not so worried about 9A. We're worried about maximizing the entry speed here, getting as close to these tires as we can. This is a pretty hard-packed divot, so this hurts when you hit it. But you want to carry on, roll that speed, climb up on that curb out of 9A, dig out, and get to 11.
And then, of course, it all wraps up here at turn 11, 180 degrees, but it might look open. Apparently, it's not completely open, Therese.
These guys might not look that rough, but these do not move. These barrels don't move, so you want to get as close to these as you can, but you will damage your car if you touch these. So it's all about, you can take a diamond line, you can run the inside line, but make sure you hit your marks. Otherwise, you're going to hit a tire or a wall.
And that's how you get around Sonoma Raceway. We'll see if our drivers can do the same as we get ready for round 2 here at Sonoma. It's one of my favorite events that Porsche Motorsports North America puts on, the Porsche Endurance Challenge. I'm Joe Peak with Joey Atterbury, and we're joined in the booth by special guest Aaron Janson, who will be joining us for part of today's coverage. Joey, this track has really been a test for the drivers, but I couldn't be happier to be here today.
Absolutely. It's a great way to end out a weekend of racing here at Sonoma Raceway. And so, I mean, a 90-minute endurance race out here, it is going to be phenomenal. Let's take a look at the track map real quick. Located in Sonoma, California, in the heart of wine country out here. It is a beautiful weekend. Lush green grass filling this trackside out here, and it is a ton of elevation around this track. A couple key areas. Turn number 2, top of the hill. Very easy to get the car light. And then, of course, at the end of the drag strip, turn number 7, your best passing opportunity. Then also look towards that chicane, turn 9A. That has been a danger area all weekend long.
So look out for there if you're watching for action today, as we see the cars lining up behind the pace car now, starting on their pace laps for this 90-minute event. But for our starting grid, don't forget we've got 4 different classes amongst 2 different types of cars out there racing today. And on the top of it, of course, is going to be Brandon Hankins, who will be starting on the pole position. So as we watch them get ready and up close to that car, you can see we've got David Bradshaw starting things off on that front row. And then Charlie Hayes going to be starting on the pole for the AM category. Then from there, Brandon Hankins and Andy Lee on the next one. That was our pole sitter. Scott Blend is going to be starting next. He'll be doing this solo. Mike Mim sharing with Zach Vanier in 4th position today. After that, it is Riley Giacomazzi and Luke French sharing the row with John Gilliland and Riley Dickinson. Just a couple more cars here in our 992s. Josh Conley with Blake McDonald out there in the 299 car. Eric Lapp and Alex Sedgwick also going to be competing in the 297 machine for JDX Racing in 8th position. From there, row 5 sees Dan Ammon and Owen Trinkler sharing the car, followed by Sean McCaig and Luis Philippe Dumoulin, who's going to be starting in the 10th position. And then finally, Francisco de Jesus and Eric Foss, who will be flanked by Todd Perriott, running a solo effort here in the 992s. Joey, what about the Caymans?
Yeah, our pole sitter was Charles Espenlaub. He'll be sharing the car with Brandon Chappell there in the number 78. And then we've got the father-daughter duo of Greg Checky and Anna Checky lined up on the front row, starting second right there. In third, we've got Tom Kopczynski sharing the car with Eric Filgaris starting in third, and Bill Fennick lined up with Chris Hall sharing that number 15 car in row number 2, starting in position number 4. In fifth, we've got Greg Herback paired up with Matt Bell in that fierce number 4 car. And then, of course, we've got another father-son combo. Reggie Tartaglione as well as Manny Tartaglione sharing that number 59 Cayman GT4. Then we've got one more car out here, and that is going to be Paul Bonderson and Johannes Van Overbeek sharing that car in the number 43.
And as I mentioned, Aaron Janson joining us. Aaron, last time I saw you here, you had quite a bit of success at this track. What do you think some of the key points to finding victory lane here will be?
Oh, this track is so technical, and there's not very many long straightaways. So here, first things first, you have to get in a rhythm as a driver. Almost every corner, if you do it well, it can possibly impact your next corner. If you don't do it well, it can negatively impact it. So you got to get in a rhythm here. Traffic's going to be an issue because, like I said, it's hard to pass. A lot of narrow corners here, so traffic management's also going to be a big key to success here.
Yeah, considering we have nearly 20 cars, and it's split between those 992s and the Caymans, you're going to have to be handling that for 90 minutes today. As we said, one expected pit stop, at least scheduled pit stop, as there is a 45-minute minimum time for your AM drivers on your team. So expect these drivers to have to try and make it to that halfway mark before we see any pit stops in this race itself. And Joey, it's the last one of the weekend. Driver's going to be a bit tired, I imagine, by this stage.
Well, not only that, the temperatures have finally ramped up out here in Sonoma. It was a quite cool, chilly, foggy morning, but it is beautiful blue sky. Not really a whole lot of cloud out there right now, so the drivers, they're going to be working inside those race cars. Not only have they been racing all weekend through those sprint challenge races and the West races, but now it is 90 minutes on the clock in the warmest temperatures of the day.
Pace car peels off, giving way to Hankins, who will have control of the field as we wait to see the green flag. Who can take round 2 of 2025's Porsche Endurance Challenge North America Series? It's a bit of a wait before they get to that stand up there. And there we've got the acceleration as the green flag is out, and it's down into turn 1. Great start by Hankins. Although it looks like it's a bit of a battle for P2. Scott going to try and come up around the outside of turn 2. Looks like, as we got a car off, bounding over the grass. Can he get it woed up in time? It looks like, yes, we avoid a major incident, but they come to a spin, Joey.
That is such a tricky corner. Now they're just kind of stuck trying to get it back onto the racetrack. I'm sure they'll get it back on the pavement, and it looks like down through turn number 4, these GT3 Cup cars are racing on while we'll get the Cayman start.
Exactly. In fact, they're coming around the final corner just now. There you see them on the screen. Going to be led by Charles Espenlaub up to that green flag. Will Greg Checky be able to challenge him into the first real braking zone at turn 2? Green flag is out. They go racing here at Sonoma for race number 2. And coming up around the first corner, that was a great start for Charles. He's already single file round the outside. Looks like Finnick has found himself a bit of space, almost tries to dive it inside of Greg, but has to back out of it. Nice, clean start for the Caymans, Joey.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed is that Espenlaub, our leader in that Cayman GT4 class, he was starting to blend over to that right lane, and we've seen that a lot on these starts, especially with the sprint race starts. Race Control has been watching. I'm sure they'll take a look at that one.
No doubt, and down through the hills they go into turn 5. In the meantime, while we're watching this, there does appear to be a car that spun in the 9 and 9A chicane in the GT3s and seems to be kind of stuck there because he's not going unless he's waiting for a clearing. Meanwhile, we watch our leaders over there come back around. There it is. Looks like it might be De Jesus, who is still having trouble moving forward. Worth noting that Charlie Hayes is now our leader. He's managed to get by Hankins up at the front.
And just to note, that stalled car down there at 9A is rolling again, and it's not going to affect that Cayman class at all. They're back on the racetrack, so the action continues on up towards the top of the hill.
Aaron, I was wondering if I could ask you, for us who don't drive race cars, it seems like, well, surely you just get the car in gear and go. How complicated is it if you stall the car, if it comes to a halt, to get it back going?
Oh, it all depends on what happens with the car. I mean, obviously, I know that he was trying to get that car back, fired up as fast as he could. And it just depends what happens with it. But it was really good that he was able to get it going and get out of there, without affecting the rest of the race and causing a full course yellow. Back to the Charlie Hayes thing, that was awesome to see him get that move on the start. I thought he was cleared actually by Hankins going up into turn 2, and he just muscled his way in and got a little small bit of space, and he was able to go and capitalize on it in turn 3. That was extremely impressive from Charlie Hayes there.
Making use of it very quickly and running away, already up to about a second over Hankins. But remember, that is for overall victory. You have your blue cars, the blue boxes. That's going to be your AM drivers, your AM teams rather, whereas the black are the Pro-Am efforts that you see in the 992s. So coming around to complete lap 2. Clearly he's got this one well under control at this stage. Also, one thing to keep in mind if this is your first time watching the Porsche Endurance Challenge, while we do have full course cautions potentially if there is an incident on the track, special rules for this series mean that you cannot pit when there is that full course caution. The pits will be closed, so you either have to be already in there or get some special dispensation to repair some damage.
And speaking on that, it kind of simplifies the strategy in one sense that, you can't pit under yellow, but it kind of opens the book for some trickery if we do have some of those full course yellow flags to try to sneak in before or maybe immediately after based on that driving time that the cars are going to have to do out there. So, pretty easy to follow along and really easy when the drivers swap in the cars.
So, Aaron, this is the Endurance Challenge. It is what it says on the tin, 90 minutes, so it's a lot longer than the Sprint Challenge races we've had earlier. It's still 30 minutes shorter, but what's it like running the car this long? Is this going to be something where the drivers have to manage both the car and themselves to have something left for the end?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, following the Sprint Challenge races throughout the weekend, there were some drivers like Scott Blinn, as you mentioned, that did a lot of laps, double dipped, and now he's doing the full length of this race, an hour and a half on his own. So a driver like that definitely would have to show up fit and ready to put that many laps on a track with very little straightaways where he's working the whole time. For drivers that maybe haven't driven as much this weekend, did one class or didn't drive at all, I think splitting the race won't be as hard on the body. But a few drivers out there, especially the solo drivers, could find it pretty challenging.
Charlie Espinlaub has got some threat from behind. Greg Checky coming off of his first win in Porsche Motorsports North America earlier this weekend has found quite a bit of speed here, Joey. He's staying right glued to the bumper of that 78.
Yeah, not only Greg, but also Bill Fennick back there. He's that third-place car, but leading his class in that Cayman GT4. So Charles Espinlaub doing a really nice job right now to kind of set the early pace. But you're right, definitely got company, and I would look towards that Checky car. I think that both Anna and Greg are riding pretty high from being on the podiums this weekend. Anna's got a little bit of redemption from race number 1 that she definitely came back during race number 2. And, of course, like you mentioned, Greg won that race number 1 in his class, so he's got to be feeling pretty good, carrying all that momentum into this endurance race where they're now a team.
Looks like we had a penalty for Todd Perriott. He has just served that already and gotten a drive-through for incident responsibility. And also, it looks like the Cayman start is under review, Joey.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I caught. Now, I'm not sure if he fully went over. Now, you got to stay in your column, in your lane on this start up until that start-finish line, and then essentially your green flag racing where you can go anywhere that you want. And I thought I maybe saw Charles Espinlaub here in the white, red, and black car kind of blend a little bit right, cheat a little bit right into that lane, and that just kind of opens up the radius for turn number 1. As a racing driver, that's what you want to do, but you still got to follow the rules.
Down on pit lane, as we had at Sebring, we have Therese Lalou, our pit lane reporter. Therese, what's going on down there?
So I was able to check in with the Checkies right before they were going out, and it was Greg Checky in the qualifying. Again, we see Charlie Hayes leading this race. He's the team owner of CHR. and all these locals are really showing that they know their way around this track. So it's really great to see Charlie leading the race, and it's currently Greg, I believe, in the car.
It is indeed, from what we're seeing on the timing and scoring right now. In fact, he continues to stay very close. They're starting to pull away from Finnick, who is leading in that AM category. This is the Pro-Ams that we're watching right now, fighting for the Cayman lead. And Checky, although he's close, isn't close enough down into the chicane. And I'm sure Greg has probably been getting some tips from Anna, who came to some grief down there earlier, Joey, this weekend with a bit of an incident.
Yeah, she had a little bit of an incident down there in 9A with Lonnie Unser as well, and I think that Anna just kind of jumped over that second apex curb a little bit too much, got really loose, and then the two kind of collected themselves off driver's right. But I think that Greg is actually learning a ton right now behind Charles Espenlaub. You see Greg in that yellow and white car. He's cheating some of these corner entries, turning in a little bit earlier than Charles, and Charles really using all of that racetrack up and over turn one. There is another great example of just really opening the radius on that turn entry, and that's also going to help preserve the car. The more you cheat those corner entries, it's definitely going to burn up those front tires quicker.
Charlie with a lot of experience in endurance racing, so he knows what he's doing out there. Greg, not nearly as much experience, but has been in a car a few times by this stage. In fact, Greg and Anna were able to race last season here at Sonoma, hopping in for just a one-off at their local track, and decided they liked it enough. They're now coming around for a full season this time, and really doing a fantastic job picking up the mantle. Not going to see anything down into turn 7. How patient do you think Greg needs to be here? Is this something where he can bide his time, Aaron, or does he try and need to get a hurry on?
I think, needs to do a little bit more of what the leader's doing, which is think about the next straightaway rather than the next apex. And you can see Greg's trying pretty hard right now, and you can see a little bit of a slide on the tire there. He's got really good pace, showing great pace. So I think he needs to be a little bit more patient here and think about setting Charles up for the following straightaways.
Bill Fennick has caught up to him in the meantime, making himself well known in that mirror as he tries to take away that second overall. Bill has a good gap down to Tartaglione, who is the other car in the 59 racing in that AM class for the Caymans. So he doesn't need to pass for the points necessarily, but of course he would like to have even more of a buffer, especially if he feels like he has more speed as they disappear up the hill to turn 2 once again. Looks like Checky's got it back under control as he starts to pull away from that purple and red machine. But this has definitely helped out Espenlaub, Joey, as he gets himself a gap. We're checking back in. Are we already hitting traffic here?
Yeah, looks like the Cup cars are making their way through the back of that GT4 Cayman field right now. So, yeah, the multi-class in full effect. And I was just analyzing the lap time since we were watching the front end of that Cayman GT4 field. I do think that they're kind of managing everything as this is starting to get really, really busy up at the top of the hill. You can see the performance difference between those GT3 Cup cars. A little bit more tire, a little bit more aerodynamics, just the performance window that little bit bigger. That means they can take advantage.
Part of the reason we've jumped over to this class is so almost looked like the 59 was defending a little bit down into turn 4. Now he's going to stay out of the way and allow these two by. Is Giacomazzi in the Invitational, that's they're not racing in any of the classes, has managed to get by Nim, and then behind them we can see Gilliland and Conley, who are trying to fight for 6th within the 992. So they are in different classes, but of course they are still looking for overall position. Therese has a little bit of information, though, it sounds like, the car with French and Giacomazzi.
Yeah, I just checked in with Luke French and Riley Giacomazzi just to see kind of how they were approaching this race, given that they're invitational, that they're not class Pro-Am or Masters. And they're really just out here looking to have a good time. Luke French has had an incredible weekend in winning all of the USA West. And they're just looking to have a good time and continue carrying on that momentum. And it's interesting to see that strategy play out with a few other drivers. I just spoke with Alex Sedgwick, who's driving with Eric Lapp. And they're really just out here looking for Eric to continue to improve and continue to find that consistency. But Alex is really looking forward to getting out there with Riley Dickinson and Zach Vanier a little bit later.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, just here for the glory since they are not out for any sort of points in that invitational class. So overall win is all that matters for them. Joey, I noticed that we had a penalty already, and unfortunately, it looks like it's for Charlie.
Oh, yeah, car 78. That's the leader of our Cayman GT4 class. That's Charles Espenlaub. And, I thought that I saw it there on that start, and it's got a 10-second time penalty added to the minimum pit stop time. So essentially, they're going to come down pit road when they need to, and then all that's going to happen is they'll do the service on the car, they'll do the driver swap, but then they're going to have to wait an additional 10 seconds. That's how the penalty will be applied.
Yeah, so back to the conversation on should Greg Checky be patient. Now he'll be given that information from his team, and even more of a reason to be patient, because if he could just stay close to him, he'll inherit the lead. And looks like something may have happened.
Well, he's been passed by Phoenix, so it's not for points, but at least in terms of the overall Cayman win, he has been slotted backwards into third out of the entire Caymans. But like you said, yeah, he will be able to overtake Espenlaub once they come in for their pit stops, since he should theoretically have a shorter one. And we're continuing to watch between Conley and Gilliland here as they work their way through some of that Cayman traffic. How much does it change the dynamic out there on the racetrack when you've got multi-class like this, Aaron?
It changes quite a bit. Even though these are just two classes of cars, your lap times can be drastically impacted, whether you get around the lap traffic quickly or slowly. I mean, you're talking several seconds a lap, depending on how you manage that traffic. So your pace in traffic actually matters more than your overall pace sometimes in this situation.
We've already seen that in a couple cases. Of course, the Sprint Challenge North America Series, both the Caymans and the 992s have their own races, but those who come from the USA West Series here in Sprint Challenge do have that experience of racing in the multi-classes. We ride on board with a 245, going to be able to sneak underneath Greg Herback and then carry on as he tries to get by Brandon Hankins. Now we're coming back to Conley once again, sharing that car with McDonald this weekend, who has shown himself to be incredibly fast, even though he's basically coming in for a bit of a one-off.
And down through the carousel there, right on the back of Gilliland. So this has been a pretty good battle for what is 6th place overall on the racetrack. Now, these two cars are in different classes, but as I've said all weekend, I don't think that the drivers really care about the classes when they're in the heat of the moment like this. All they want to do is try to be faster than that car directly in front of them, try to make that pass. And you know that Gilliland's probably feeling the pressure pretty good because Conley is all over the back, even in this 9-9A complex. Look at that, half a car length between the two.
He's been laying it on. Unfortunately, he's not been able to get by quite yet, but we've seen that all weekend, that you can catch up to the car, but trying to overtake can be just a little bit difficult. He's staying right underneath him, coming through turn 11, Aaron. Will he try something into 2 is the question.
I think he might, but he may play just a little bit nicer being a teammate right here, so we'll see what they do coming up into turn 2.
They exit 1. This is where it rises, and this is incredibly steep up here into the braking of 2, but still nothing doing over the crest. Stays within a car length, now to 3A, or 3 and 3A rather, and down into 4 between them. This could be a shot here. He's right next to him, but no. You're right, he does seem to be playing nice, Aaron, with his teammate, not wanting to do something risky.
And I do want to ask you, Aaron, about that, because these are both Kelly Moss cars, so they're both talking on the radio to the team. How much do you think the team is telling the drivers what to do right now?
I highly doubt they're telling them to do much. I mean, there'll be an expectation that they're going to take care of each other out there, only take an opportunity whenever it makes sense and you've done the work to set it up. But I think they're going to let their drivers race here.
For those that don't know, and for clarity, obviously Aaron works with Kelly Moss and is here sporting some Kelly Moss gear with us right now in the booth. So he's a little bit biased, but we kind of expected that, and definitely have been enjoying having his expertise up here in the booth as we watch them down to the braking once again, still nothing doing. I've been also keeping an eye, Joey, on Blend and Hankins on our timing tower. That gap has been hovering at about half a second for a while now.
Yeah, not only that, but Brandon Hankins actually closed it in on Charlie Hayes that previous lap to under 1 second, and there was a nice little move down to the inside from Conley on Gilliland. Didn't quite get that front axle up alongside that rear axle of Gilliland, so he kind of backed out of it as the door was shut at Apex. But I think that kind of goes to show you how aggressive Conley is. He feels like he's got a faster car right now, and he's trying to get by. But, Joe, back to your point, yes, Scott Blend less than a half a second behind Brandon Hankins. So those top three cars definitely starting to compress, and that lap traffic comes into play.
Conley certainly looks like he wants that cow liveried machine to move over, but he's not willing to do it quite yet, and still unable to get it down into turn 4. He'll just have to stay stuck behind for the time being. Ever closer, now down to 0.3 apart between Hankins and Blend.
And they're coming up crucially on more lap traffic. I think that's one of the Cayman GT4s directly in front of them there on corner exit. They'll clear them by the time they jump on the brakes down here in turn 7, or are they going to?
We'll find out while we wait to see what happens out on track. We've got more information from Therese. Therese, what's going on?
So I just checked in with Riley Dickinson as well as with Blake McDonald, who are the co-drivers for that Conley-Gilliland battle. And they're actually working on two completely different kind of strategies. We've got Riley working with Gilliland. He's his coach. He's looking to kind of get him that consistency and get him that experience. And we've got Conley and McDonald, who are actually best friends, who've been racing together since 2023. These two are always on track together. So it's kind of a different approach to the race. Conley's really hungry. He's out there looking to get his first podium, whereas Gilliland is out there for the experience. So it's really interesting to see how those two are kind of approaching this race.
Got really close there for a moment with that lap traffic in that battle for P2 in the 992s. Hankins will hold on to that, as well as, we should clarify, still the Pro-Am leader. So he is leading his class, just trying to keep Scott Blend at bay for the time being. Blend would really probably like to be by, because Charlie Hayes is in his class. That's the AM classification, and is now about 4 seconds up the road.
We were talking about the fitness level, and just if these drivers are getting tired at all. I remember talking to Scott Blend on top of the podium yesterday, asking him, hey, has it gotten to you at all? And he was saying absolutely not. He loves being inside the race car. As much time as he can get in that, that's exactly what he is going to do. And right now, that practice time is definitely paying off. Still only about a half second behind Hankins and hanging on to second place in class.
Struggling to keep with him coming out of turn 7, at least for the moment, as we look a little bit behind them as well. Looks like Checky's still hanging on to the back of Finnick in the meantime for that second place in the Caymans. They were just overtaken by the Giacomazzi French car down there, as it looks like the 215 runs off, and catching up to the back of our 992 field as well. That looked like De Jesus that he was getting ready to lap in that action. Ooh, that was a lot of that inside curb there, Joey, coming over 9A from Josh Conley. He's using every inch of the track.
We've seen that second apex curb definitely kind of be a little bit of a danger area, but he decides to follow Gilliland through 11. But look at that. Gilliland's pretty wide from apex all the way off that exit right there. I think he's able to stand on the gas. He's got about 2 car lengths here as they cross the start-finish line, so I don't think it'll be a threat up into turn number 2. But every time you leave the door open like that, the driver behind is going to notice. And if it happens multiple times every single lap in the same corner, that means there's a little bit of timidness, a little bit of a weakness in there. That could be the area to strike.
Whether or not he finds that opportunity, we have yet to see. Gets a great run out of 3A. And I've noticed this multiple times, Aaron, that it looks like Josh is very strong out of that corner, but it's such a short stretch up to 4. Oh, and I thought now he was going to try it into 5 there.
Yeah, Josh is definitely trying to figure out where he's stronger than John. I have to commend John, though. He's driven his race, he's driven his line, and he's gotten good runs onto the straightaways. He hasn't really given Josh that much. We'll see if he defends here going into 7.
Get to the inside, and John does not defend, although that was awful deep from Conley. Uses that extra runoff that you've got on the outside of 7 to great effect. He will pull away again, will not get him any more points, but that's been a long time coming. He is freed up to race now.
And you could definitely see that out of the carousel there. It just seems like Gilliland didn't really use that exit all that well, and it was really Conley that took advantage, was already standing on the gas, carrying the momentum through down the bottom of the hill, but now he is running into the front of that Cayman GT4 pack. I believe that is Greg Checky in that yellow and white car directly in front of him. So now that he's free and in clean air, he's got to deal with the traffic himself. It is Bill Fennick way wide through turn number 11. He's going to be side by side with Greg on the front straightaway.
Can't quite keep the speed up to be alongside him. It'll take someone brave to make a move up into turn 2. No, he falls away at the same time that Conley suddenly rocks up to the back. Conley wants to go by, but he has to think twice about it. Maybe it was a bit of contact. I saw some cars bouncing around there.
And Aaron, I mean, this can be an extremely narrow racetrack, especially with the racing line shifting from the left to the right. How narrow can it really get up there?
It can get really narrow whenever corners go in one direction and immediately go to the other direction. Everything comes up so fast, and these Cayman drivers are in their own race, you know, in the front of their own field. So they're focused on their own race, and the GT3s have to find their own way around them safely, and it's not so easy to do sometimes.
As you can see, Conley's finding his own path, goes around the outside. Gilliland says, that seems good enough for me. I'm going to try and follow until he runs out of racetrack, tries to cut across, and now he's going to get separated from his rival, at least temporarily, before he dives underneath Greg Checky. There's a little bobble from Conley coming out of the first Apex's 7, finding all kinds of trouble lapping some of these Caymans.
Yeah, and then I think it was Gilliland's turn to kind of wag the tail coming out of turn number 7A right there, trying to put 500 plus horsepower to the pavement, to the slippery, very, very hot track temperature pavement. Now really diving on the brakes, and then Fennick is able to kind of separate those two Cup cars there in that chicane. That's not what Gilliland wanted to see, but it's exactly what Conley wanted.
That finally gets him far enough away, I think, that he doesn't have to worry about Sean for at least a little while. And I'm sure he'll want to shoot off down the road as quickly as he can. And up ahead of them both, Charles Espinlaub still leads, but remember, he now has a 10-second penalty that when they come in for their pit stops, he's going to have to try and overcome. Greg Checky is currently set to inherit that pole position, or that top spot in the Cayman Pro-Ams spot. We'll see whether or not he is able to really jump on that.
Yeah, just kind of watch these cars up and over the hill of turn 3A right here. So Fennick, it was first Greg Checky that kind of made the mistake that allowed Bill Fennick by, but a couple laps ago it was Bill that was just really, really wide out there in that turn number 11 complex, and Greg Checky was able to kind of reel it all back in. But like you said, I think that Charles Espinlaub, ever since he got that 10-second time penalty handed down to him, he is a man on a mission. He has put his foot down flat to the floor, and he is starting to run away.
Yeah, and for Greg Checky, you know, this isn't really his race right in front of him with the out-of-class car, even though it's still a Cayman, but he really is going to want to keep that 10-second gap, within 10-second gap to the leader, so he can inherit that lead in class, and so Anna can go out and inherit the lead with the fast pace that she has and go run away with this thing.
Let's get a little bit more information on that car, which we'll see getting past right here, because it sounds like Therese has caught up with the team. Therese, what have you got?
So I was able to connect with his co-driver, Charles Espinlaub's co-driver, Brandon, and he thinks that it's a little too early to tell whether they'll be able to make up that 10 seconds. They're both on a mission, and he's ready to push as hard as he can to make up that gap. It's unfortunate. The rules are what they are. He thought he'd left a little bit of a lane. They understand why they received the penalty, and they're ready to charge forward.
So they're going to make an effort and see if they can make it happen, but it sounds like they're not super confident on that one. Big thanks to Therese for digging that up for us. That's Brandon Chappell, who's going to be hopping into that machine a little bit later on. We're almost a third of the way through, so I guess about 20 more minutes, it looks like, Joey, and then we should start to get where that pit window can open up.
And I think this is when the drivers are really starting to feel the heat. Now, Scott Blend is going to be feeling the heat for the next hour or so, since he is soloing this thing, but Remember, these drivers have been in the car for now 30 minutes. It's starting to get really warm here at Sonoma. You're working your body, you're working your brain every single corner out here. It is very physically exhausting inside these race cars, and a lot of them are sealed up. Some of the drivers are running cool shirt systems to try to help them stay cool in air. And how important is that for the driver to have that cool shirt system or an AC system to just kind of help with that brain processing power?
Yeah, I mean, so many drivers like to use those, especially for these longer races, just to keep your core temperature cool. I mean, I have to say for Scott, it's super impressive. I don't think he's gotten out of the car much this weekend, so super impressive how many laps he's able to put in and how well he's driving right now, putting pressure on the back of Brandon Hankins. But, yeah, I think in these long races, the cool shirt's definitely going to help these drivers keep cool.
We were watching on board with him. But as he continues to try to chase Charlie Hayes, Joey, it doesn't look like he's been gaining time lately.
No, and I was just noticing purple from Charlie Hayes that last lap. Fastest lap out of anybody, a 1:39.23 out there on the board. You compare that to Hankins at a 1:40.7. I mean, that's a full 1.5 seconds faster. Some of it could have been down to traffic with Hankins getting held up a little bit, and just kind of out of our broadcast booth here, I thought I saw that Greg Checky was sneaking up the inside of Bill Fennick up on the way to turn number 2 right now. So that Cayman GT4 battle for second place hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, remember, Greg does not want to throw away a chance to inherit the lead over Espinlaw. In the meantime, I hear that Therese has gone over to the Ruckus Racing team and chatted with them. Therese, what information do you have?
So I was able to catch up with Mike Johnson, who's in charge of the engineering and runs the program over for Ruckus Racing, and he says that Blind is a little bit tired after competing in all these races, but his energy levels are still high. He's ready to push forward, and this is the last one, so he's leaving everything on the table.
I think that sounds like a good plan. Thanks again, Therese, doing all the legwork for us down there here at the end of the weekend herself, after she was in the car a little bit earlier in the North America Series, racing in the 9.2 cars as we watch that battle carry on. Now, it doesn't look like Checky was able to get by Fennick, as he still shows is behind him on our timing tower, so it seems like it was another failed attempt, which is honestly, Joey, good news if you're Espinlaw. The more that Fennick holds him up, the more he can try to build that gap.
That's a great point, right? The more two cars battle, they slow themselves down, and if you see that in the rearview mirror, it means it's just time to hit every single mark out there, put together perfect laps where there's no sort of mistake, make it extremely consistent out there, and the less mistakes that you make, the faster you're going to go, the more that gap is going to balloon and expand.
Yeah, so I mean, you don't necessarily want to get in a big battle with an out-of-class car, but there's intriguing battles in both classes right now because you have Scott Blinn behind Brandon Hankins, and Scott probably feels like he has a little bit more pace, and he really does need to push the issue here and try to get around Hankins so Charlie doesn't continue to open that gap. And you see the same thing with Greg Checky behind Fennick. He's really going to need to push the issue here so that his class leader doesn't get away as well.
They're doing their best, but it does seem to be so difficult today to try and make those passes, especially since you got to look out for the car as well. You don't want to do anything that throws this all away. Now we get some visuals on Bill and Greg. And don't forget, once we swap drivers out, that will change the dynamic as well. That's one thing I love about team racing, Joey, is it's not just one driver and who's the fastest. It's how that entire team handles this whole situation.
Well, the whole team, both drivers in the car, and that's an interesting point about endurance racing, not just the multi-class format, but when you have two different drivers in the car, you have usually two different driving styles, usually to have two different sized people that are going in the car. And maybe, Aaron, you can speak to that, because sometimes there's that compromise on the setup, and then also sometimes seat pads have to get thrown in during those pit stops.
Yeah, for sure, and you know that each pairing is going to be a little bit different. So you have some true Pro-Am pairings in this field where you have very experienced drivers in these cars, and they'll be expected to drive whatever's most comfortable for their co-driver. But what's really interesting are the Am pairings here in the field. They really have to find a good compromise where both drivers are happy with it. And yeah, they're going to have to change out seat inserts sometimes at the driver changes. I bet they practice that a lot, in the lead up for this.
And it sounds like Therese has been digging up information on her fellow extrovert. Therese, what's going on with Fennick?
So Fennick is full of energy, doing a great job. His co-driver, Chris Hall, is really, really happy with him. They're just leaving Fennick out there as long as he wants to be. He has to do that minimum of 45 minutes, so they're waiting till he kind of throws in the towel, and then Chris will get in and push to the end. But he's really, really happy with where they're at and where Bill has been able to put that car.
We have Josh Conley in pit lane as well. We'll see if we can send Therese down in there. Are they swap? Yeah, they are swapping drivers. Now that is, okay, that's an AM, so that should work out well because the 45 minutes minimum is just for the Pro-Ams. If you have 2 AMs in the car, then obviously it doesn't matter, and you can change whenever they want. Interesting that Conley has decided to back out after they had already made that pass.
Yeah, I mean, Josh made that pass. He did a really good job in his stint, and he's seen this weekend Blake McDonald has had unbelievable pace in the sprint races. So I'm assuming they're probably making that decision just because he knows Blake can really go charge this thing forward. But it is interesting to see how early he came in.
Yeah, so that's only a third of the way into this race. Don't forget they have a minimum pit stop time. This is essentially a beginner's endurance series, so drivers are trying to learn the ropes here of endurance racing, so they're not trying to have these teams hustle through these pit stops. It's a safety concern for them. Therese, I think, has been down to Josh's pit lane. Therese, what's going on there?
So I was able to connect with Josh and Blake McDonald a little bit earlier, and Blake is ready to win this for the podium. So Josh was willing to give up the seat time. He wants that podium really, really bad. He's putting his full faith in Blake McDonald, who of course has moved on from the Sprint Challenge paddock into the GT3 world, and he just lit it up leaving the pit lane. So Blake's ready to go for sure.
And a lot of times what happens with the strategy calls is they'll put a driver in for qualifying, and obviously that driver has to start the race that qualified the car, but then they kind of want their anchor. Think about it as a relay. You want your anchor in at the end, somebody who's crazy confident in the car, confident in themselves that they can go out there and perform at the absolute maximum, sometimes even at 11/10ths. It sounds like they got their faith in McDonald right now.
Yeah, I don't blame them based on what we saw from McDonald last season in 2024. Just phenomenally fast over in the USA West Series. So I think that was a good call on that one to pop him into the car and see if he can make up some ground with some clear air out there. As we check in on the 233, this is our overall leader. Charlie Hayes going to be sharing that one with Reinhold Kron. Has been doing everything he needs to do up to this point. It is 3.5 seconds. It was closer to 4 ahead of Hankins, I want to say, earlier on. So may have backed off just a little bit just to preserve the car. But regardless, he is more than an arm's length away from any rival.
Well, and Aaron, I want to talk to you again. You're kind of getting towards the end of your stint out here. You've used up a lot of the tire. You used up a lot of the car. What's it feeling like right now? And do you have to really hang on to it for the end of the stint?
It depends how well he's managed throughout the stint. It looks like Charlie's had this race fully under control, so I think he's managed it quite well. But at the same time, he'll want to get this gap as big as he can, and so that Reinhold inherits a good and big lead, so he doesn't have to fight as hard to hold off Scott Bland, who's his second closest rival in class. Obviously, Brandon has a pro driver getting into his car, so the overall win will be a tight one, but it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, so Hankins is going to have Lee hop into that car a little bit later on, and they'll be trying to aim for that win over in the Pro-Ams. Not really concerned as much with Hayes and Blend. He needs to watch out for Mike Mim and that 255 team, who is the next one back. Looks like they have a pretty significant gap, though, down to them. So I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue at this stage. That said, like we always say, Joey, a caution could change everything.
Oh, it could change a whole lot right now, and that's kind of what happened back at Sebring for the endurance race round number 1. We kind of had a relatively early yellow flag, kind of about the same time, and we saw a couple of those strategists see that incident out there at Sebring and call their drivers in, sneak it in before that full course yellow happened. But we just have to wait and see. When you are a strategist, you cannot bet on yellow flags. You don't know if they're actually going to happen or not.
One of my favorite quotes was from Eddie Cheever that said, "Luck is a bad strategy." And that really tells you, yeah, you can gamble, but you really don't want to depend on it. As So we continue to watch that 2:33 just bank the laps in and keep leading this round 2 of our Endurance Challenge in the 2025 season. Really great continuation of last season, which was the very first we ever had of the Porsche Endurance Challenge here in North America, and definitely enticed many a driver in to get to try this fantastic style of racing, which is honestly, Joey, I mean, you talk about endurance racing, it is almost, I would say, the style of sports car racing.
I think if you look towards the pinnacle, the top tier of sports car racing in the world, yeah, it's definitely endurance racing, whether it's Le Mans, Daytona, Sebring, Bathurst, Nürburgring, Spa, wherever you go, their biggest events are always their endurance events. And something that we were noticing on timing and scoring, I caught it as well, is that ever since Bill Fennick has kind of left Greg Checky in the dust, he's starting to kind of reel in Charles Espenlaub, and that's that Cayman GT4 class lead. Now, I know the two cars are in different classes, but Espenlaub maybe starting to fade a little bit with that car. Fennick right on top of him.
Well, another thing to note is the gap from Espenlaub to Greg Checky is getting closer to 10 seconds, so Greg's going to want to make sure he keeps that gap within 10 seconds so he inherits that lead.
We've got some more information coming in from Therese. Therese, what's the story?
So I caught Zach Vanier as he's about to get in this car. He's getting ready. He's really, really happy with Mike Min. His development over the last year has been incredible, and he felt he really should have been able to put it on pole today. He has shown some incredible pace. They are one of the teams that is not hoping for a yellow. So as soon as Charlie Hayes switches out for Reinhold, Zach is ready to go out there, duke it out with Reinhold, Riley, Andy Lee. Got some stiff competition, but they think they can get the podium.
And we've got our class
As I
leader.
say that, there is a caution flag that just came out in 9.
Yeah, Charles Espenlaub spun it around in that turn 9A chicane, and that was our Cayman GT4 class leader. He has dropped down the order.
Ooh, not good to see. Remember, they're going to have to deal with a penalty a little bit later, so this is the worst case scenario for them. Also, as that was happening, Todd Perriott, who is in a solo effort, has come into pit lane. He's getting his service, should be out shortly. Waiting to see what the timing and scoring updates to once they cross the line. He did build up a gap. Oh yeah, I'm seeing Bill Fennick now, our leader in that class, and it looks like Espenlaub has been moved into 4th out of all the Caymans. No, 3rd, excuse me.
Yeah, and I don't see any sort of damage or parts hanging off of the back end of that red and black number 78. So I think that's just kind of one of these things that you jump over that second apex curve and you can definitely upset the platform of the car. And actually, Charles was a little bit wide there in turn number 4 as well. So maybe he's fighting something after that spin.
I see the Ruckus Racing team getting ready, and Blend has been denoted as being on pit lane. He's pulling up in front of us right now and getting his service. He is the other driver that is doing this solo, as we've mentioned. He still has that minimum pit stop time, so this will give him a brief rest, but he will have to get back out there and start to make up some of this. Now we're getting quite a bit of a backup here as some of the cars, unfortunately, finding themselves sort of strung amongst our Caymans.
Yeah, this is Bill Fennick, and he's got 2 GT3 Cup cars. Bill blows the brake zone. He's going to have to go straight through the grass in 9A and almost spins it. Oh, there's contact between himself and the Cup car. There it goes around, and now Greg Checky's going to take avoiding action. That was not what we wanted to see, and Bill has a problem on the front end of his machine.
Oh, and Greg is going to be able to get away with that, but boy, he had to come to a real crawl. And speaking of which, to a halt. There, we can see on our screen that Bill Fennick may have to be out of this race. We have a full course yellow.
And I mean, for strategy, this could not have worked out better for that Ruckus Racing machine that is on pit road, because remember, he came down during the green flag, and now it is yellow. That means his pit stop is going to be done before the safety car is actually out there.
Now, we did see this last time with Scott, though, and I believe it's an even, it's a shorter lap than what we have here. So he is absolutely going to be a lap down, and that's the problem with pitting early, is now he's got that he has to make up, but his pit stop is done, and when everybody else has their cycle through, he's got to hope that he can make up the time while they take their stops.
100%. That is the one thing with the mandatory pit stop times, that you can only go as fast as that time clock will allow you. And just to kind of talk about that incident down there at the turn 9A chicane, I just think it was Bill getting in a little bit too deep on the brake zone. He had those 2 GT3 Cup cars creeping up in the mirror. You know that he was probably watching that, maybe got a little bit unsighted going into there, just carried way too much speed through the grass, and actually where the contact happened was after he rejoined the racetrack. The car was just all sorts of out of shape. He had a big tank slapper, and as he was correcting it back to the right, there was already one of those Cup cars there.
Yeah, and I think that may have been Lap's car in the 297. It's showing is in pit lane right now. Fennick, unfortunately, debilitated at the side of the road. Thankfully, safety crews already there to go and check on him. Shouldn't be too big of a problem as it wasn't that huge of a hit, but the car obviously out of commission from here. Well, not the way he wanted that race to go, that is for sure, as Bill's been having a pretty fun weekend, albeit he was certainly coming from the back in the first race he was in. As far as Eric Laps goes, I think Therese has managed to make her way over. What's the car look like, Therese? Oh, we might not have Therese with us.
Well, and just watching time.
Of it, and so they've decided to retire that car for the rest of the race.
There we go. Well, that's the relevant information we needed to know there from Therese, that the car is out. I'm not too shocked. I mean, they clipped corner to corner, Joey, and that's never good news.
No, and it was pretty decent contact there, too. Very unfortunate for both of those drivers, but the one that is really benefiting from this is Greg Checky. Aaron was just pointing it out on timing and scoring here. He had just kind of inherited the lead. Remember, Charles had made his mistake a couple laps prior. He was applying the pressure to Fennick. Fennick made his mistake, and now all of a sudden Greg finds himself in the lead.
So those just tuning in and saying, well, these cars should come in and pit now because we're under yellow. A reminder that the rules in Porsche Endurance Challenge is that once the yellow flag comes out, pit lane is closed except for emergency service. None of these cars really have reason to do so, so they'll carry on, including our leader, which it sounds like Therese has also made a visit down to Charlie and Reinhold's pit stall. What's going on, Therese?
Yeah, I wanted to check in with Reinhold and see how they felt about this yellow, and it really hurts them because Scott Blind was already in the pits when that yellow came out, so I think Scott might actually cycle into the lead because of that. So Reinhold is still looking forward to his stint and looking forward to getting out there, but this yellow definitely puts a damper on it. But Reinhold is looking forward to trying to go as quick as Charlie. It's a really good bronze-bronze matchup, and Reinhold definitely has the capability. He's been showing some really quick times, so they're still in the fight. I just checked in with Anna Checky as well. She's really proud of her dad, proud of that stint that he put in, is looking forward to getting in the car. She says her goal is just bring the car back in one piece.
It's understandable. It's probably going to be a little bit nervy out there getting in the car when it's in the lead of the race if things stay as they are. Charlie Espinlaub going to have some of that gap made up by this caution, but again, still has a penalty to serve. I can tell you that when I looked at the timing and scoring, Blend is marked as a lap down from the leaders. So yes, he has his pit stop done, but again, now he'll have to wait for the others to do theirs, and it all depends on if he can make up that time and emerge ahead of them once they service their cars.
I think where the benefit will come from is that, remember, Scott Blend's pit stop time will be identical to Charlie Hayes. It'll be identical to Brandon Hankins out there. So by the time they come in under that green flag condition and serve their stop, it'll be interesting to see where Blend is on the racetrack, because during the safety car, he's essentially kind of vacuumed himself right back up to the end of the field right here. He won't have to stop again, at least to my knowledge. So it'll just be interesting once the cycles are complete.
Yeah, and one thing to note, Blake McDonald, who also has already done his stop, is right behind Scott Blend. So they're both in the same boat. They both have a lot of pace. So I think that's a really big place to watch right now in this race.
So we're seeing there's a couple cars getting the wave around, the 52 and the 49. So that's in the Cayman class. Kopczynski's car and Herback going to be put back with their class. Essentially what happens is if you are between the pace car and your class leader, so the pace car is in front of you and your class leader is behind you, you can get waved around so that you don't wind up unnecessarily an extra lap down. But yeah, Blake McDonald's being back there is not going to be very much comfort for Scott Blend. Like we said, Blake is incredibly fast, and now when they restart, he is going to have made up a lot of time because of the cars being bunched together, and could try and challenge him for that AM win. Interesting that we've only got those 4 AM cars out here. That's the 233, the 245, the 299, and the 213. And honestly, I'd say at this point, Joey, that this is a real toss-up between the 233, the 245, and the 299. I think any of them could come away with the win today.
100%. It's just kind of a roll of the dice. And just as Aaron was saying, McDonald is on the same strategy as Blend is. The one difference, though, that I really noticed is that Ruckus Racing Machine pitted significantly later than what McDonald had his car with Connolly come in a little bit earlier. And my one concern is, can the car make it all the way on fuel? And you're telling me probably the team is much smarter than me.
Yeah, I mean, but I wasn't over there obviously to make the call, but I would assume, whenever they brought Josh in to make the stop and put McDonald in the car, that he has a great strategist from Kelly Moss that's thought all this through, and I think they're sitting where they want to be sitting right now, so that'll be exciting to see. Also, I want to point out the overall lead for Pro-Am is going to be really interesting here. The caution is going to bunch everybody up, and now you have Andy Lee who's about to get in the car for Brandon Hankins. You have Zach Vanier right behind him, Riley Dickinson right behind him, who are active Carrera Cup North America competitors who are front runners in that series. That's going to be really intriguing to watch. All the pros getting into the Pro-Am class coming up.
Watching that car being toted away, Bill Fennick's car on the flatbed, Joey, it's kind of interesting how it's been bookended. He's had such a good middle part of this weekend, but it started with that qualifying problem and sent him to the back of the field, and it's going to end with a DNF, sadly.
Yeah, you're right. Out there in North American qualifying, he kind of tagged the left rear on the wall coming out of what is turn number 11 out here, that final hairpin, and kind of just threw away that entire qualifying session for him because the red flag came out, which means his lap times got deleted. But then during the races, he really came back. He started from last, charged all the way up through the field, had a great race number 2 as well. So a lot to look at from the weekend, positives to look at, but also ones that you'd probably want to forget.
Well, he'd want to forget them, but as you always say, there are learning opportunities. So things that he can come away with some more knowledge than before. Looks like since they've pulled that car away, I don't see any emergency vehicles out where the cars made contact, so they cleaned up that debris that was kicked up out there as well. Let's see if the lights are off. The lights are still on the pace car we're seeing now. So we'll hopefully be able to get going shortly here, but doesn't look like it'll be this lap. In the meantime, we do have a snake of cars behind them, so they've done most of all the work out there and are just basically waiting for the word to go. So we're being told it is going to be 1 to go to green at the line.
And I actually kind of prefer this. Of course, we want to see green flag racing, but I don't see any quick dry out there. And we know that the front end on those Porsches have those radiators up there. There is definitely probably a little bit of fluid that came out of Fennick's car. So the more that these cars let that fluid dry or run over them at pace car speeds, it's going to help clean that racetrack up. So I think in terms of safety, this is probably the right way to go.
Absolutely. And they'll just get that 1 to go signal here shortly, as I think the last 2 of our Caymans just now catching up to the back of them. So that's going to be Kopczynski and Herback who got that wave around. So thankfully we should have them all hooked up to the back of the train as well. In the meantime, real quick, I do see that Therese has got a little bit of information from a couple drivers. Therese, you got any tidbits for us?
Yeah, I wanted to check in on what happened between Bill Fennick and Eric Lapp, and it's still not quite clear. It seems like there was a pass-repass situation. They're both talking it out with their coaches now. We've got Bill Fennick towed in, talking with Chris Hall. We've got Alex Cedric working with Eric Lapp. It's always unfortunate when you have the teammate on teammate. Really disappointed for the JDX team, but they're putting their hopes in Mike Mann and Zach Vanier moving forward.
All right. Let's look forward to getting some green flag racing. We've just passed the halfway mark of this race as well, so we could see a lot of those drivers duck in that have now completed their minimum time for the AM drivers, and send us out with some more action, with some different faces. Definitely excited to see how this is going to play, especially now that the cars are all bunched up. Once they clear some of these Cayman cars, Joey, the GT3 Cup cars are free to try kind of fight amongst themselves for a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that once we get going back racing green, it's going to be a pretty fierce fight to get onto pit road. I think that it's going to be essentially green flag. They're going to do one full lap, and then we're going to see a lot of these cars, especially that are up front in that GT3 Cup class. And then also in the Cayman GT4s, I'd expect to see all of them hit pit road because we still have Greg Checky in the car. We still have Charles Espinlaub in the car. We still have Kopczynski. We still got Herback. Everybody who started in that Cayman class is still out there inside the race car. So I think pit road is about to be very busy.
That's what I was going to say. Aaron, I mean, if you were on the team, would you say let's try and pit now so that we can capitalize on everybody being bunched up, maybe losing time?
It depends what your driver pairing is. Obviously, if you have a really fast pro that's waiting to get in the car, you need to get them in the car as soon as you can. Otherwise, I'm glad I'm not a strategist right now, so I'll let them do their job and figure that one out.
Everybody wants the glory of being the race car driver, but there's so much more that goes into winning a motor race, and definitely the strategist can make or break whether or not you come home in victory lane. Looks like it's already on the power there for Charlie Hayes. Our leader as the green flag is back out for our first restart of the day here at Sonoma in the Endurance Challenge. It's a good spread through most of the field, but Mike Mim very close to the back of Jacques Amazzi. Can't quite do anything up into turn 2, and Scott Blend stuck a lap down, now trying to make hay.
Yeah, and crucially, I think that Blend has one car between himself and McDonald right there. That I believe was the car that Gilliland was driving not too long ago. So he's very thankful to kind of have a little bit of a blocker, although that's going to change right down here into turn number 4.
A big look actually up the inside there for Conley, and there we go. Another move to the inside as Gilliland is going to be able to manage to get by Mike Mim, and he's going to bring along another with him. Conley goes on through, Sean McCaig in that car now. Remember, they had their pit stop, so they'll sneak on by, and that is going to demote at least Mim a couple spots.
And this is so crucial for the fight for the Pro-Am podium because now these drivers are about to go get their pro drivers in the cars, and track position is so important. So that's really interesting to see how this is playing out.
Obviously, some of them not willing to sit around. They're in a hurry to try and get moves done here on this restart, knowing they could wind up losing quite a bit of time. Conley close to the back, but nothing doing. Down into the chicane as the drivers head towards the hairpin at 11. Saw a couple drivers nearly going side by side into there. Farther back, and it looks like Gilliland in.
Yeah, well, he's not the only one. I already counted 5 cars hitting pit lane right now. So kind of just as we predicted, we went back racing, green flag on that restart, and all of a sudden that pit window is officially open, and look at them all line up on pit entry right there. They're taking the opportunity to fill it up with fuel.
Interesting. So we're going to get the answer on Blend very quickly, and apologies, that was McDonald's, not Conley, in the car since they had swapped them out. But you have, look at this busy pit lane as everybody is doing their best to try and get in and out. Remember, you can still make a difference minimizing in and out laps.
Yeah, that's crucial as a driver, and you know what, Aaron's pointing something out on timing and scoring. I think that this is a great strategy call from that CHR team. They've left Charlie Hayes out there on the racetrack. If they know that pit lane is going to be busy, why not do a lap? Why not do 2 laps? Get that thing cleared out so you've got it all to yourself.
Especially with the pace that Charlie's been able to set so far this race. I think that's a really good call from them.
Yeah. You might as well try and do something a little bit different, and now he's got all kinds of clear track, no pressure, just try and put down the quickest laps you can. Bright black, purple, and yellow car, hard to miss out on the circuit, and especially when it's pretty much the only one out of the circuit right now compared to a lot of the others. Behind them does look like Perriott and Blend are close together out on the track as well, coming towards turn 11. Still no pit stop from Hayes.
I'm not surprised by that, because given the minimum pit stop time, all of these cars are still on pit road right now. I think 2 laps is the perfect call in terms of the strategy right here. Just get pit road completely empty and focus on what the team needs to do.
Love to see drivers try to go contra to everybody else around them, give us a little bit of spice out there. Meanwhile, is that actually, yeah, I think Perriott got by. I thought he was behind Blend before, although he's still technically behind. So I wonder if Blend maybe just allowed him through, knowing that wasn't for position.
I think that's exactly what's happening, and now that Blend has everything up to temperature right now, he's really starting to put the pressure on Perriott. So Perriott is a full lap behind that bright yellow Ruckus racing machine, and out here in the tower, I can hear all these cars on pit lane come to life and exit out onto the racetrack.
And as they get back out onto the track, it sounds like Therese has caught up with one of the drivers that has just hopped out.
I'm here with John Gilliland, who just got out of the car. John, how was that stint? It looked crazy.
Yeah, it was great. It was nice and clean, and I got a good start, which was good. Stayed up with the lead pack fairly well through the whole thing. Got into Cayman traffic pretty quick. I was very surprised, but they were good. We passed well, and it worked out really good.
How tough are those Caymans to get around?
They're not too bad. They're really good about it. I use a lot of lights. I'm flashing. And there's 3 or 4 really good passing zones here. So you just get them in the brake zone, and it's all good.
How was that fight with Conley?
It's all good. So I held him off for a long time, and finally, he's not my class, right? So I figured I'd just let him go. So it's all good.
Well, that's great teammate racing, and it's great to see you out there, John.
All good. Thanks, Therese. Appreciate it.
In the meantime, on screen, we've had a change for class position out there. Is a mistake from Blend has allowed McDonald to get through. He is going to be ruining that one, Aaron.
Oh, that's a huge. Those are huge race implications for the result of this thing. We'll see what McDonald can do, if he can get away, or if Scott can hold on to the back and try to reapply some pressure.
And it wasn't just the one mistake as well, because I did see that Blend went a little wide down at turn 7. McDonald tried to get underneath him, couldn't quite make it happen, but he shook him enough that he managed to sneak through at the turn 9 and 9A chicane. Now he's dealing with Scott was dealing with, though, as it looks like Todd Perriott is not exactly giving way very quickly. Now he pulls over and lets them through. He saw what was happening and does not want to hold them up. That allows Scott Blend to reclose the gap.
And I think that this is effectively going to be for the overall lead, not only the class lead, but for the overall lead, especially once Charlie Hayes hits pit road, which I'd expect him to come down this lap. Like I said, all of those cars have finally exited pit lane right now, and I'm noticing that there's a lot of the pros, just like Aaron said, have hopped in the car. The one caveat, McDonald and Blend, they're a full half lap ahead of everybody.
Well, it's still got a lot of racing left to go, 31 minutes. So, I mean, we're practically a full sprint race still left for these drivers. And we've seen how much can happen during those races. So, essentially, whatever could happen there, you still got the opportunity to unfold here today. Charlie Hayes still carrying on, keeping everybody a lap down at this stage. And just doing what he can with the clear track to distance himself and make good on this alternate strategy.
And remember kind of how we saw Conley and McDonald take that early pit stop about 30 minutes into the race. If I'm going to kind of put on my tinfoil strategy hat over here, I think that Charlie Hayes has essentially flip-flopped their strategy. Remember, they started with that 30-minute stint, and they were going to close it with a 1-hour stint. It looks like Charlie Hayes is going to open it with a 1-hour stint and then probably close it in that last half hour.
Yeah, I think that was an interesting strategy. I think Charlie has such great racecraft. I think they wanted to take advantage of that early in the race.
Yeah, I think that's a great call on that front. As Greg Checky is now in, so looks like we're having some of our Caymans take a pit stop. And while that is happening, I believe Therese has caught up with Reggie Tartaglione. We'll get Therese in just a moment here and let her have a chat with Reggie in a moment. But in the meantime,
what was the toughest part of your stint?
Yesterday, I couldn't drive for you know what, but today I gathered it up and we had a good time. Had a good showing.
All right, you still in the fight?
Oh yeah, we're still in the fight so far. P1.
All right, P1 baby. Can't wait to watch you bring it home.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was Reggie Tartaglione, and again, a fantastic job by them this weekend. where we have to remember with Bill Finnick out, Joey, that does put that 59 car in the lead in the AM category.
Yeah, that is a nice little feather in the cap there for the Tartagliones, but they still need to finish this last 29 minutes of the race really to kind of be extremely proud of themselves. I know that Manny has had a very good weekend, has won 2 races already in that North America Series, so he's looking to close it out with a 3rd win here today.
Sounds like Therese has another one here shortly because a significant change there with Blake making that pass. I think she's been chatting with Conley. Let's see if we can hand down to there pretty soon and get some word on what the mood is in that camp, because they've just put themselves in a very good position to try and take that one over.
Well, and you know, just watching timing and scoring right here, it is lighting up purple. It is lighting up blue. I mean, these pros are in the car. They are setting the fastest laps of the race. Yeah, and you just pointed out Riley Dickinson just went fastest overall, a 1:38.16. That's going to be fast. I see Zach Van Ye back there also at a 38. I mean, all of these pros are now in the car, and they're stacked on top of each other for what is, call it 5th overall. Looks like Riley just got by that invitational car.
Yeah, I'm not shocked at all that Riley's taken the fastest lap. Now we've got Conley ready, so let's head down to Therese and get his impressions.
Josh Conley, Josh, how are you feeling about performance out there?
Feeling fantastic. My boy's killing.
Looks like we're having just a few technical problems in the meantime. At least glad that we heard a little bit. Sounds like that Josh has really had a rough time out there, and no wonder he was having to fight hard. Meanwhile, I see Anna Checki returning to the track in that 72 machine. We'll see where that yellow car comes out. Right now I'm showing it scored 3rd in class, but of course that is before they get up to speed.
Yeah, she's out there on her outlap right now as we ride on board with McDonald here in the 299 heading down towards turn number 4. One of the slowest corners on this racetrack. Also one of the trickiest because the track is going downhill. It almost seems like it's off camber there. Everything is just kind of falling away from you. And then this turn right here headed down into the carousel. It is a huge pucker factor, especially in those fast cars. You are moving up over that crest.
This is will be Ryan Holcomb. This is Charlie Hayes in the car right now. This is going to put some serious pressure on Ryan Holt here, Aaron. I mean, he's going to have to try and put some good laps in. I mean, Charlie's doing what he has to do, but remember, this is potentially for the win in class.
I know. I mean, we're just going to have to see where he comes out of the pits and where it puts him. But Blake McDonald putting, fast lap of the race in class at 38.9 on the field. I'm just curious to see where Reinhold comes out on track and if he can, how well he deals with that pressure from Blake, setting really fast times.
Coming back around, still not going to pit in this time, and keeps putting in as quick as laps as he can. 39.2. Unfortunately, last time by McDonald with a 30, or not last time by, but his best is a 38.9. Let me see what the last lap looked like.
Much closer this time.
Oh yeah, so about 0.2 quicker. So still cutting in on it, but not massive gaps there.
No, and there's a big gap behind McDonald and Blend back to Andy Lee back there, but that is a different class fight. So I think it's pretty neat that, we've got this fight up front for our class, and then really through, call it the mid-pack, that's a completely separate class, and they're only separated by maybe 1.5 seconds at the most between all of them.
Well, speaking of 1.5 seconds, that's the distance, excuse me if I can get the words out, between Dickinson and Lee right now. Make that 1 second now. So Riley Dickinson is in a hurry on Andy Lee. He is going to make a fight of this.
And we've seen a couple of 37s pop up on the board throughout the weekend, but it was not in these sort of conditions. It was in qualifying conditions when the car is much lighter, and Riley is out there certainly outperforming everything.
I always envy the drivers that manage to snag him as a co-driver, as he really is just phenomenal in these Porsches. So now down to 24 minutes left to go here on the clock. We're coming down towards the end of this race soon. We've only lost 2 cars, the 297 and the 15. Otherwise, still have 17 vehicles out racing here in round number 2 of the Porsche Endurance Challenge.
And, you know, I was kind of wondering about that strategy call from McDonald with the early pit. Can he make it all the way to the end on fuel? And I think our answer is already out there on the racetrack with Charlie Hayes not coming into pit lane yet. I mean, it's been over an hour that car has been out there, so I don't see any reason why that 299 shouldn't be able to make it to the end.
Yeah, and that includes the caution laps as well, so that helped the fuel mileage probably considerably out there, and does change kind of the nature of things. In the meantime, we watching a little battle for position out on track here, as it looks like Dickinson and Lee, I think, are now right on top of each other.
Yeah, they're going by start-finish line right now. The 295 directly ahead of that 280 car. So now we've got them on the screen right here. So that is Andy Lee in this red and black machine. Riley Dickinson has hunted him down. He was about 1.5 seconds back, but over the past 3 laps, he has just cut that time, cut that gap, and he's now on the bumper.
But as we've seen, he now needs to try and make the overtake. Now they've got Anna Checki out there in the Cayman. Is she going to be able to pull off to the side and let them through in a nice safe spot, or are they going to catch her in an inconvenient place? This is up into the carousel. This is where it gets a little bit tough, and we've seen this outside move before. Anna sees them but drifts out, unfortunately, cutting back underneath. That was a fantastic move from Lee to make a late change.
Good racecraft, great racecraft from Andy, and Riley essentially just followed him through, and you see even Riley close it in on that brake pedal pressure, just another little half a car length, and then really swings out wide there for 7A to try to get that launch off of the corner, trying to put all 500-plus horsepower of these 4-liter engines to the ground without any wheel spin.
I mean, Riley knows how to milk every last bit out of this car. He's going to try and get that speed coming down into the braking zone of 9 and 9A, but still nothing doing. If I know Andy Lee, he's going to make this a real tough tussle if Riley wants that spot.
He definitely will, but Andy is a class act out there. You know, I used to race against him way a long time ago, and he is not one of these guys to get his elbows out. He will race you clean. He will race you fair. He's not going to force you off of the racetrack, and Riley knows that. It's going to be a good battle.
I mean, I'm already enjoying watching these two. Backs off just a little bit now as they come up the hill. Maybe just giving himself a chance to refresh. We did hear from Teresa a little bit earlier, Joey, that the aero wake on these cars can be pretty bad.
They can be, but remember, not every single corner here at Sonoma is a high-speed corner, and Andy Lee goes defensive down the hill towards turn number 4. Riley really carried the speed up over 3A right there, so Andy notices this cow-like car in his rearview mirror, and he's trying to prevent him to get by.
Almost thought we could have an over-under there coming through turn 5, and doesn't quite work. Meanwhile, he's sticking right to him. Will there be another defense from Lee? Down into the braking zone, holding the middle of the track. Yes, he will defend, coming down to the apex. Round the outside here. Oh, just about managed to hold on. Tries the cutback, but parking it at the apex. Lee says, not today, buddy.
Now, Aaron, you told us this is an extremely difficult track to pass on. I think Riley's figuring that out himself right now.
Oh, Riley will have known that with all his experience in this car. Andy's doing such a crafty job to hold him off, and he's doing it clean and respectfully. But I have to say, it's so impressive how close Riley's able to follow him and just keep pressure on him. To make him go defensive in this many corners as he's able to do is extremely impressive.
Riley's got a fever, but I don't think Cowbell is going to satiate this one. He wants a win here in the Endurance Challenge, weaving back and forth into the braking zone now, trying to find a spot into turn 11, but is unable to get side by side. They're starting to get a little bit more dicey out here. Yes, this is for 4th overall, perhaps 3rd overall, but this is for the Pro-Am class win.
And here comes Riley once again here. This is the area of the racetrack that Andy was kind of struggling in last lap, and Riley's not going to be quite close enough, or is he up over the top of the hill? Once again, defensive from that red and black 295. Riley is just trying everything from the inside to the outside. Where can he get some clean air to the front end of that car? Just get a little bit of grip to get that front end to cut, and then ultimately lay down the power to try to out-drag his competitor.
And Andy's going to really be hoping that Riley uses up his tire, pushes so hard for this pass. But, man, Riley's pace is so strong, I just don't know.
This is just a Herculean effort by both of them in this situation. And in fact, they're being caught up by French around the outside once again. The more they fight, the more French could play a thorn in the side of these two.
And Zach Vanier, both coming up to him.
Oh, goodness. And Zach Vanier is going to make this fun as well, because French is just here for the overall win. Remember, that's a car that is invitational only. So as we watch this, let's keep our eyes on this battle, but let's turn our ears to Therese Lalu, who is caught up with Greg Checky.
I'm here with Greg Checky, who just finished an incredible stint. Greg, how was it out there?
It was thrilling and exciting, that's for sure. I just stayed on my line, consistent, and kept picking people off slowly, as waiting for someone to make a mistake, waiting for the cup cars to come up and distract my opponents and give me a line through them.
How tough is it with the cup cars out there?
I thought it was great. They really helped me out a lot. They come by me and make a path in front of me, so I actually appreciated their help.
How are you feeling about Anna's performance so far in the car?
Oh, she's amazing. I know she's going to bring it home for me. She's just tears it up, so I know she's going to finish with the pros like a pro.
Well, congratulations to you guys on a great race so far, and can't wait to see you guys on the podium.
Oh, thanks so much. It's been fun.
So Checky right now running in third in class for the Pro-Ams here in Cayman. Seeing a little bit of backing off now from Riley Dickinson. Ooh, lap traffic in front. Oh, Riley's off course. So is French. His car is covered in dirt, but he's carrying on round the outside. Zach Vanier says, that was my chance to try and get this spot from you. I'm not worried about points with you. I want to catch the car in front. But Luke is not going to give him the chance. He'll fight him every inch of the way until finally Zach is by.
What a pass.
That was a muscle move for sure. Zach saw the mistake down at the bottom of the carousel, and I mean, it was a heck of a job from Riley and from Luke French to hang on to the car. It is not always easy when you've got those loaded tires in the dirt on the exit of the carousel. The car is going so fast, you're relying on those outside tires. Great car control from both of those drivers.
That allows both Dickinson and Lee to run away a little bit. Meanwhile, I wondered when we'd get this. It looks like, Aaron, you've spotted our leader pitting finally.
Yeah, it looks like Charlie Hayes is in. Reinhold's going to have less than 17 minutes left of this race to close it out and try to win the race overall. Yeah, it will be interesting to see where he comes out on track.
As we watch this battle carry on, started to see a few signs, Joey, of those tires maybe going away. It was this cow car that dipped its wheels into the dirt there.
I think that Riley just saw those cars really approaching in the rearview mirror, and the urgency level went up that little bit, so he was just pushing it that little bit further to try to get by Andy Lee directly in front of him. And this is a shot of our overall leader, or at least will be our overall leader once Charlie Hayes and that machine is able to get back out on the racetrack. But here's Riley. Here's another terrific run down the drag strip. He's going to put the nose to the inside. Andy Lee with a late block.
Wow, and they were very shallow into that corner. You could tell patience is starting to wear thin. Riley's forcing him to go as far inside as he dares to try to open up that corner himself, but it's still not giving him the chance to get by. Zach Vanier passed French now. He needs to make up just a couple seconds to get through. But where is Hayes going to come back out? He's already been overtaken by McDonald and Blend, it looks like, on timing and scoring.
I think this might be an opportunity down into turn number 11. Riley's definitely close enough. You see him kind of poke the nose down to the inside and then fade back towards the racing line. He's going to try to really square up turn number 11, get the shot off of it, and right now he is directly on the back of Andy Lee. This could be a move down into turn 2. In fact, he's side by side across the line.
Up the hill, can he hang tough? He's going to have the inside if he can, up into turn 2. No, he just gets faded out a little bit, gives the bumper to the back of the 295, says, I'm still here, buddy.
Unbelievable spatial awareness there from Andy Lee.
And you know what? Great job from Riley. He's not going up there. He's not hitting them. What is it said? Rubbin is racing.
Rubbin is indeed racing. Oh, my goodness. They are giving us a show out there. The question is who is going to come out ahead. Cron is going to emerge in third in class, unfortunately, so it looks like it did not work out for them.
I think I was seeing Zach Vanier start to creep it in as Andy and Riley are battling. Their lap times are, call it, high 39s, low 40s, and Zach's last lap time a 1:38.8. So we've really been watching these two cars, but it's about to be a three-car fight.
Yeah, which is what, honestly, I've been looking forward to because, as we said, we've got the pros in this Pro-Am lineup in the car and have really been shining out there today. They just relish this chance to fight against one another in this championship. Down into the braking once again, and as good as that Cal car is under the binders, he just can't seem to find a way by.
Now they kind of rocket themselves down towards turn number 11 right now. Riley's not close enough, but we've really seen him kind of widen out this entry here and square up this exit at least the last few laps. But I got to give Andy Lee a ton of credit. It is not easy to have all of this pressure in your mirrors literally every corner. It's not every lap, it's every corner that Riley is attacking him. Andy's having to go defensive in a lot of these corner entries, but he's able to still capitalize on the exit, which can be difficult. But here comes Dickinson.
I was going to say he intentionally moved wide on the entry to that one. He was trying to open it up. He's getting smart here. Look at this. He could have the inside into 3A, but he's going to be chopped off, and the car gets loose over the curb. He's getting creative, Joey, but it's almost getting too clever for his own good.
You know, great racecraft. Andy still left him, call it 3/4 of a car length, right? Enough to stick the nose in there, but once they got up over the crest of the hill, the door was promptly shut, and Riley, once again, is going to be very urgent. There's that third car. There's Vanier coming up in the mirror.
Yeah, Riley's going to want to make this move fast.
He's going to want to try and get through as quick as he can. Again, this is for class win right now. Overall, it'll be the third place podium of the entire 992s. But look at Zach Vanier suddenly now encroaching. All three spots in our Pro-Am are up for grabs.
And this is a fun spot to be if you're Zach, because you see the battle. You've seen it being going on for a handful of laps now, and sometimes you just got to let Riley be the hammer, and you can follow your way through. That's what he's hoping for, is essentially a double pass with these two kind of scrapping it out.
You get a front row view here from Vanier. Oh, here we see some more defensive moves trying to go down to the inside just as we switch round the outside there, cutting back once again. Here he comes around the final corner and across the line with now 12 minutes left to go. Riley doing everything he can, chopping across the track, and still he keeps having the door shut in his face.
I think he's onto something, though, having Andy go defensive in turn 2 at some point. If he gets a really good run out of there and he gets that outside in 3 again, I really think he can make that work.
I've just been seeing the rolling speed up and over the crest. It doesn't matter if it's turn 2 or turn 3. It just seems like that number 280 car is able to roll the speed a little bit better, and that's definitely partially to do with kind of Andy Lee having to go defensive and kind of pinch off those corner entries. It just allows Riley to take that alternate line.
Yeah, I mean, you know, whenever you drive these things, it's so hard to follow as close as Riley's doing. For him to do this lap after lap after lap behind someone as skilled as Andy Lee, like I said, is extremely impressive. And when you keep putting this pressure on, it's going to be really hard for Andy to hold him off, but exciting to watch, that's for sure.
And let's not forget that while this is happening on track, there's an entire team watching this. It sounds like Therese is caught up with the Kelly Moss team. What's it like down there in that pit?
Victoria, how are the nerves here in the Kelly Moss paddock right now?
I don't think anybody's able to breathe. It's really, really close. And we're just all holding our breath here. It could be a really exciting finish for the team.
How do you guys sort of process all of this when it's this close?
A lot of pacing and a little bit of swearing every once in a while and a lot of cheering.
Well, is it tough having two different cars kind of fighting for that podium spot? How do you guys handle that as a team?
We let them duke it out on track. You know, there's always just the opportunity to provide the best car possible, the best support possible, and let them go out there and play.
All right, well, good luck to you, and I can't wait to see how this one plays out.
Thank you so much.
It was close once again. Big thanks to Therese for that update. Love hearing from the team because they're just sitting on the sideline watching. That's over the sideline there for the Cal car of Dickinson. Once again, off of 2. Vanier truly there. They come upon lap traffic. The 78 trying to stay out of the way, and that almost boxes in Dickinson.
This is going to be very interesting. There's another Cayman directly in front, and all three of those Cup cars were able to get by Chappell in that number 78, but they've got now Eric Filgaris directly in front in that Cayman GT4. Eric is always heads up, a true professional out there, but there's 3 cars lined up. Sometimes you know about 1, sometimes you know about 2, but you got to look out for that third. Riley's feinting a move down to the inside of turn 7.
Exactly. This is for the win in the Caymans as well. There's about 2 seconds between Filgaris and Chappell. He does not want to give up time, and he did have to a little bit, taking it wide down through turn 7. So we could have 2 separate classes with a very close finish for the win.
I love seeing all 4 of those drivers. I mean, these are true pros out there. They knew to take advantage. Eric knew they were coming. He was heads up, gave them room, and they all just got along on the playground together.
Coming out once again towards turn 11 as the drivers try to size up one another. Vanier actually backing off a little bit as he tried to give them space to read the situation. Does he have enough to try and get in there and fight with them while Riley continues to be held up for the Pro-Am class win?
This is starting to get really, really intense. And Aaron, you were actually pointing that out. I think that Zach is just kind of hanging out right now.
Yeah, it's hard to say. You know, we're not in the car. You know, we don't know what the car's feeling like under him right now, but he's definitely close enough to pounce if something were to happen and get a spot from this. But he's not really engaging in the battle, so it'll be interesting to see how he plays a part in this whenever the battle re-engages.
And when you are that third-place car in line, we know that we're running out of time, right? Only 8.5 minutes left. When is the time that you stop hanging out and go start to get in it?
I think right now, you know, Riley's still putting the pressure on Andy. I think Zach needs to go and start putting himself in there right now.
So who is going to be the winner in this Pro-Am class? Remember, the AMs are honestly the overall winners right now. McDonald, 8 seconds ahead of Blend, has just been doing beautifully ever since he made that pass and has distanced himself from P2 in that class. In fact, let's remember that Blend's doing this solo along with doing races all weekend long. Can't even get the words out because the action once again picks up down here in the Pro-Ams. Maybe a little bit of a mistake from that red 295, allowing Dickinson to get closer, but still is unable to shake him, just gripping that lead in class with an iron fist.
And I think Riley was probably a little bit frustrated right there, having to have followed Andy Lee this entire stint. That's the fastest section of the racetrack, and that's as close as he's ever been. And once again, pokes the nose down to the inside of turn number 11. Riley's going to really try to square off that exit, but it seems like those front tires, you had mentioned, they might be starting to fade a little bit.
I mean, he's followed him so close lap after lap, and they've been battling so hard. But, I mean, he's still got that pace, though. He's still so close.
I bet you that both Riley and Andy are just enjoying the hell out of this, though. They are having the titanic battle out on track. Oh, he got another good run. He's going to try and get beside him. Coming up to turn 3. He's tried this before, but this time he backs out of it.
Yeah, and here comes Zach. He's as close as he's ever been to Riley right here, that third car in line, and you see all 3 cars directly in that camera shot. Call it 3/4 of a car length separating each one of them right now. Dive up and over the crest to turn number 6.
Yeah, and this is the gap he needs to keep right here. That way, if there's another instance like that, he can be opportunistic and go take one of these positions.
And let's not forget that while we think these 3, as there's more dust being kicked up, these 3 are likely going to be the ones fighting for the win here in class. That should something happen, if this fight heats a little too hot and they get into one another, we still have Reinhold Kron waiting way back in the wings to try and pick up the pieces. They have to keep this clean for 6 more minutes.
There's another Cayman GT4 directly in front of them now, and we're going to see exactly how this plays out. They're going to get through the chicane nice and clean, but it's going to be an interesting run down into turn number 11. And remember, we've seen Andy Lee go defensive into that turn, call it the last dozen laps. Now he's got a car in front of him.
Yeah, and that's Johannes van Overbeek. He'll be very heads up on what's going on as well. Super experienced, obviously. But, yeah, they caught him at such an interesting time. Here we go.
Oh, that sort of diamonding off line there from Riley is kind of leaving him vulnerable at times. Vanier looks like he might have an opportunity to sneak through. He's got to be careful. Also an update on our Cayman battle for the Pro-Am lead. It looks like Chappell has unfortunately made a mistake. He's lost about 10 seconds.
Yeah, Eric Filgaris is really starting to gap that thing out, and just looking at those last lap times out of Eric, a 1:43.8. That's dang near qualifying times that we saw for those Cayman GT4s, so they've definitely got that car tuned up.
Will we have any more lap traffic before this race is out, or is this going to be a straight fight between these three? Lee still holds that track position, which has been such a critical factor all weekend long. He tries to open up the entry to the corner as well, just to get the launch off. He knows he needs to get these runs down the straights to keep from giving a chance to Dickinson.
And you see Riley just presenting the car in the mirror, just doing everything he can to try to force him a little bit off of that racing line as we get a shot of this, call it battle for what is third place right now. Matt Bell has chased down Anna Checki, and Matt is one of the most skilled you can find in a GT4 car. Him and I have duked it out plenty of times back in the Grand Am days, and so now Anna's got another professional right on her tail.
Oh, man, she's got 4 minutes left of this race to hold on to the overall podium. Can she do it?
Yeah, and we got to talk to her during the coverage of the USA West race, asking what it's like getting that pressure from behind. She said it can be so distracting out there. She's relatively inexperienced, so this is going to be a serious test of her nerves to try and come home with an Endurance Challenge podium.
Yeah, but she's just got to stay calm out there. Those lap times between her and Matt that last time were identical, a 45.1 out of both of them, as once again Riley's really going to try to square up turn number 2. He's pushing Andy Lee through the corner.
It's almost Talladega style through there. He is right on top of him, cutting back and forth.
He's setting up
once
for turn 4
again,
now.
looking for the exit. He is indeed, Aaron, and look at it. He knows it. He's going to go around the outside. That's the closest he's gotten so far, but again, he is rebuffed. Lee had to get to the inside so quickly there.
This is fantastic racing out of the trio right now. I don't know how Andy Lee was able to hang on. Now Zach's poking it down the inside of Riley. I don't think he's going to be able to get on the gas. Riley's carrying that slingshot, that outside momentum, but you see the flash of the lights. Vanier wants a little bit more room.
Yep, Zach says, I didn't quite appreciate that one. In the meantime, we had a penalty for Cron. He didn't lose a position, but he had to come down pit lane for incident responsibility. So something happened out there that we hadn't caught before.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but like you said, it just kind of drops him down a little bit, and call it 2.5 minutes left. Look at how close Riley is. He's pushing Andy Lee through the turn 9A chicane, and now he's getting wheel spin coming off. Riley is getting urgent.
Oh, and I've just got word from Therese. She says the team says that Vanier's tires are pretty shot, but he's willing to push here. Does he have enough as well to try and capitalize on what looks to be a very roughshod car for Riley Dickinson at this stage of the race? 2 minutes left to go. 2 laps left in it.
I think all their tires are gone at this point. The drivers just have to leave everything on the table and see if they can get this thing done.
I love seeing that move down there in turn number 11 from Zach, because we've seen Riley really kind of give up on the corner entries, right? Leave that door open and capitalize on the corner exits. Zach was saying, okay, if you're going to keep doing that, I'm going to put my car right there.
He's trying his best. Ooh, here's another
cutback.
cutback.
Just get that nose on and on a turn 4.
This is a tough one to pass on the outside, though. It's so easy to carry that apex speed through turn number 4, but sometimes it's all about that setup. If you can just kind of get them off of the racing line in turn 4, you might be able to squeeze them going into turn number 5, and then here into turn number 6, possibly get the nose in there.
Wow, it's getting so close. I thought he was going to wind up turning him. This time he's got him on the ropes, but again, all the way down to the inside for Andy Lee. Round the outside, can't cut back. There's a car there as he just stole the apex away from Riley Dickinson. Still gets pushed back into that second position. The car sliding as it comes off of 7.
And this is crucial right here. Only a couple corners remaining. We
the
are
last lap?
on that final lap, or they're going to be coming up to that final lap right here, because McDonald has already crossed start finish. We got to remember that's 30 seconds ahead of the battle we're watching right now.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I remembered. Yeah, we've got our overall leader there, Blake McDonald, coming down the hill already. So he has taken the white flag. Meanwhile, down to the inside, is this where the pass finally gets done? He turns him! Riley gets into the side of Andy, and he's going to wind up at the side of the road, and now Vanier is there to try and pick it up. Will that be a penalty for Riley Dickinson?
That'll be up to race control, and you saw Zach already on the lights flashing them to Riley and said, hey, you know what, if you're going to push him out of the way, I want my chance at the pie up here. He's going to try to take a piece of it.
Lee gets it going before Trinkler overtakes him, it looks like, so he'll at least still be on the podium once we get home. But Blake McDonald has found himself a chance to take victory after not competing in the full season here in Endurance Challenge, coming over after a special invite when another driver was unable to make it, and Blake McDonald is grabbing the opportunity with both hands. What a showing from the 299 here at today's race at Sonoma. He has got a full 16 seconds and then some ahead of Scott Blend. Blake McDonald will win round 2 in Sonoma.
I mean, talk about great strategy and two strong drivers that executed perfectly. A great win for that 299.
And it looks like Dickinson is not going to be able to win this race. He might come home first amongst them. Here we see a few of our podium finishers, and the Caymans coming across as well as Blend taking that second place, but a drive-through penalty for the 280 for incident responsibility that should hand Vanier the lead of this race. We wait for them to come across now, as well as looking for Filgaris and Tartaglione, who will be our winners in the other classes as well. And across the line, it does look like Dickinson is going to have that penalty, switching it over to Vanier, taking the win in Pro-Am.
Yeah, now we're just really waiting for Eric Filgaris. I saw that Manny Tartaglione has already crossed start-finish, so he will be your winner in that class, and now we're just waiting for the 52.
What a run out of that 52 machine. Filgaris sharing it with Kopczynski. He'll take victory as he crosses the line there in Pro-Am in the Caymans. From a wrecked car in practice to victory lane here at the end of the weekend. Tom has got to be absolutely chuffed for that one.
And then the HM road racing car will finish second in that class. And crucially, we saw maybe a snippet of the battle. Matt Bell was able to get by Anna Checki for what is third place on that podium.
So that's going to complete our field here today for the Endurance Challenge. And if we go through our results, it looks like Blake McDonald will take a steady win up at the top there in the 299 machine. From there, it's going to be Scott Blend finishing P2 in that AM category, unable to do the heroics that we saw last time out, as Zach Vanier in the 255 is going to wind up our winner after an incredible battle there in Pro-Am. In the invitational cars, French manages to bring it home fourth overall. Lee winds up in second in class, with Dickinson being sent back to third, so still on the podium. Trinkler, fourth in class, seventh overall. Reinhold Kron, podium finish in the AM category. Dumoulin in the 234 car is going to finish ninth overall, with Perriot in 10th and Foss in 11th, Joey.
Yeah, and then we've got that Cayman GT4 class where we saw Eric Filgaris and Tom Kopczynski take the win in that number 52. Brandon Chappell and Charles Espenlaub come home second, with Matt Bell there in third, with Greg Herback. Anna Checki and Greg Checki fall down to fourth place, but that is a fantastic finish, especially with all those pros in at the end. And then, of course, the other Cayman class goes to Manny Tartaglione as well as his father, Reggie Tartaglione. A great effort for the 59 there. And then Johannes van Overbeek finishes in fifth place overall in those Caymans.
Lapp and Finnick are only two DNFs in this one. We've got more to come. It's time for our podium ceremonies. We'll be there in just a moment.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
One last time this weekend, we're going to celebrate our podium finishers, this time for the Endurance Challenge, starting off with the Cayman A's. Finishing second today in the number 15, it's Bill Finnick and Chris Hall. And our winners today, driving the 59, it's Reggie and Manny Tartaglione.
Well, let's get some interviews done before we start spraying that champagne, Bill. So, actually, Reggie, I want to start with you. One heck of a performance from Manny all weekend long. How proud of you are him?
Oh, very proud. Happy day, happy moment. Good to be with my son. Pro sport competition. Jason Rave. What support? Great event, Porsche. Great event.
And Manny, how does it feel? You've now got 3 wins on the weekend.
Well, it was a good weekend, but it's even more special now. I get to do it here. Really enjoyed it.
Congratulations, you two. One heck of a race and one great result. Time to celebrate.
Again, a big congratulations to our Cayman Am podium finishers. We head off to the Cayman Pro-Ams. We're going to start off with third place, which is the number 49 of Greg Herback and Matt Bell. Finishing in second today, driving the 78, Charles Espinlaub and Brandon Chappell. Coming home with the victory, it was a steady drive for the 52 team of Tom Kopczynski and Eric Vilgaris.
All right, guys. A little crowded up here, so I'll start on Tom. Let's start with you. How happy are you with this result?
I'm thrilled to death. God, I whacked the wall coming out of turn 11, and I said, "Oh shit!" PSM failure. Everything was going wrong, and I was like, "Oh please, don't stop!" But I survived.
Well, and then Eric, once you got in the car, it was on cruise control, but it wasn't for you out there either.
No, it wasn't. I got to tell you, we decided to change outfits over the wintertime, and Kelly Moss has really been welcoming, and it's been night and day for Tom. And I'm really excited to be a part of this crew and excited to be part of Porsche Sprint Challenge again. So, yeah, great weekend.
Great job, everybody. It's time to celebrate.
Let's hold those trophies up first. And now you can celebrate with some champagne. Let's give it up one more time for the Cayman Pro-Am finishers. Up next, we go to the GT3M category. We're going to start off with third place. It's the number 233 team of Charlie Hayes and Reinhold Kron. And then impressively finishing second, the Ironman of the weekend, the solo effort of the 245, Scott Blend. And our winning team is the 299 of Josh Conley and Blake McDonald.
Well, congrats on the win, you guys. How does it feel to stand on top?
Feels fantastic. You know, pick your friends and pick your co-drivers better. So it's awesome.
Well, and it was a little bit of an early strategy to get you in the car, Blake, and then once you were in there, you had to make a couple passes, but once you got out front, it seemed pretty clean.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an easy one. Kelly Moss made it easy for me, and I want to just massive thank you to Josh. He's one of the people that got me into racing, and so to do this, it's just a full circle moment, and I'm just over the moon happy right now. So, dude.
Two great teammates. It's definitely time to celebrate.
We love to celebrate, especially with some champagne. For the GT AM drivers, podium finishers. Let's not forget that Conley and Blake McDonald also the overall winners for today's race. That takes us to the GT3 Pro-Am, and what a battle it was for the podium. Let's start with third, driving the 280, John Gilliland and Riley Dickinson. Finishing P2, driving the 295 car, Brandon Hankins and Andy Lee. And proof you got to be in it to win it. Our victory in the Pro-Ams goes to the 255 of Mike Mim and Zach Vanier.
Mike, easy there. Want to start with you here. It is exciting to be on the top step, but how nervous were you watching that last half hour?
Yeah, it was actually very exciting. I was cheering here at the trailer, for Zachary to pass Riley, and I mean, obviously it was a great fight to watch, and unfortunately there was a penalty for Riley, but we had a good performance, and I think we deserved it. So anyway, I'm very happy, and this is my first endurance race win, so very excited and happy about that.
And Zach, how was it? You were just kind of sitting in the catbird seat waiting for it to all unfold in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, that's certainly not the way you want to take a race win. But yeah, that was just the definition of being patient, waiting for the moment, not trying to push something. And of course, there was 3 cars with 3 very talented drivers. So lots of fun. Super happy to share this moment with Mike. Very grateful for him to have brought me on board again this year. Huge thank you to the entire JDX Racing team, our partners, Montway and Ship Cars. Yeah, I guess now it's just like championship focus. Let's go win this thing.
Congrats, you two. Congrats on that win.
For the last time this weekend at Sonoma, let's spray some champagne! Congratulations to both all of our competitors and our podium finishers here for the Porsche Endurance Challenge. We have more races coming later this year. We'll be back at Circuit of the Americas. In the meantime, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.